In the grand theater of human emotion, few spectacles rival the profound bittersweetness of a wedding, a joyous symphony of love, unity, and shared futures. Yet, amidst the dazzling lights and fervent celebrations of one such magnificent event, a different, far more somber narrative was quietly unfolding, largely unnoticed by the jubilant throngs, but meticulously captured by the unforgiving lens of a smartphone camera. This wasn't a curated moment for social media, nor a picture-perfect memory for the album. This was raw, unvarnished truth, laid bare for the world to dissect and judge. The image, grainy and candid, wasn't of the blushing bride or the beaming groom. It was of a lone figure, a woman, exquisitely dressed, yet radiating an almost unbearable solitude. Her elegance was undeniable, but it was overshadowed by a palpable aura of isolation, a visible barrier that seemed to repel all who approached. Imagine being present at the pinnacle of someone else's happiness, a vibrant tapestry woven with laughter, music, and collective joy, only to find yourself a single, frayed thread, utterly detached, completely alone. This was Sarah's reality. From the moment she stepped into that resplendent ballroom, a silent, unseen force seemed to conspire against her. Every glance felt like a question, every averted gaze a direct indictment. The subtle shifts of bodies, the sudden urgent need to check a phone, the polite yet firm "sorry, this seat is taken." These weren't accidental occurrences. They were a meticulously choreographed ballet of avoidance, designed to signal her unwelcome presence without uttering a single incriminating word. The online world, ever vigilant and insatiably curious, seized upon this visual anomaly with ravenous speed. The photograph depicting Sarah and her poignant solitude quickly became a viral phenomenon. It spawned endless debates, ignited a firestorm of speculation, and invited a torrent of judgment, all based on a single, out-of-context snapshot. Who is this woman? Why is she being shunned? What dark secret does she harbor that warrants such universal disdain? The internet in its brutal efficiency had convicted her in the court of public opinion, branding her an intruder, an outcast, a pariah in the midst of celebration. Yet every viral sensation holds within it the potential for deeper truth. What if this widely circulated image, this moment of profound public humiliation, was merely the tip of an iceberg, concealing an extraordinary narrative far more complex, far more poignant, and ultimately far more redemptive than anyone could possibly imagine? What if the collective judgment, the immediate condemnation, was about to be irrevocably shattered by a single powerful act of revelation? What if the very groom, the man whose joyous day she was seemingly disrupting, held the astonishing key to her true identity, a truth so unexpected that it would not only silence the whispers, but compel an entire room, and indeed the online world, to reevaluate every single preconceived notion? This isn't just a story about a woman at a wedding. It is a gripping exploration into the insidious nature of snap judgments, the devastating power of collective bias, and the monumental, seismic shift that occurs when an unspoken, heroic narrative is finally, dramatically brought to light. Prepare for the moment when the entire world's assumptions crumble, when prejudice gives way to profound understanding, and when everything you thought you knew about this lonely figure, this wedding, and the very essence of human connection itself, changes forever.
From the very first clink of champagne glasses, a chilling atmospheric shift enveloped Sarah. It wasn't an overt act of malice, no shouted slurs or direct confrontations. Instead, it was a far more insidious form of social warfare, the silent, choreographed dance of avoidance. Every subtle cue, every unspoken gesture was a razor-sharp cut, slowly, meticulously carving her out of the vibrant tapestry of the celebration. We witness her attempts, valiant and increasingly heartbreaking, to breach the invisible walls. She approaches a cluster of guests, a hopeful smile on her lips, perhaps a practiced opening remark ready. But as she draws near, conversations falter, laughter dies, and groups seamlessly, almost instinctively, constrict their circles, leaving her on the periphery, a silent, unwanted observer. Her efforts to engage, to simply exist as part of the collective joy, are met with an impenetrable politeness that is colder than any outright rudeness. The rapid breaking of eye contact, the swift redirection of attention, the sudden urgent need for a phone call or a trip to the bar, these are not accidental. They are well-honed social defenses designed to maintain distance without explicit confrontation. Each attempt to find a moment of connection, a shared smile, a fleeting exchange, is met with an icy wall of indifference, leaving her more exposed, more vulnerable than before. The elaborate spread of food and drink, the lively music, the sparkling decor, All the elements designed to foster warmth and camaraderie instead become instruments of her torment, highlighting her stark isolation. She finds herself navigating the opulent ballroom like a ghost, her presence unnoticed, her attempts to settle dismissed with curt, almost imperceptible gestures. Every empty chair she eyes is suddenly reserved. Every promising conversational lull is filled with an intentional, excluding chatter. The sheer stamina required to maintain composure in such an environment is immense. How does one endure such a systematic, unspoken erasure? How does the human spirit grapple with being actively yet silently shunned in a room overflowing with collective happiness? The camera captures the raw vulnerability etched on her face, the quiet dignity with which she bears the brunt of collective judgment, and the profound sadness that accumulates with each passing minute. Her gaze occasionally drifts towards the beaming bride and groom, Michael, radiant and oblivious in their joyous bubble, a poignant contrast to her own deepening despair. This wasn't merely about being overlooked, it was about being actively, systematically, and cruelly rendered invisible. And with each averted glance, with each whispered judgment, the question hung heavy in the air, a silent, tormenting refrain. Why?
Overwhelmed by the suffocating weight of unwanted attention and the chill of collective avoidance, Sarah seeks solace in the quiet solitude of an empty corridor. Here, away from the glittering facade of the celebration, her carefully constructed composure begins to crack. She gazes into her own reflection, seeing not just the smudged eyeliner and the ghost of a tear, but the deeper weariness etched into her features, a weariness born not of physical exertion, but of the soul-crushing effort required to endure profound social isolation. Yet beneath the sadness, a flicker of resilience persists in her eyes, a silent testament to a hidden strength, a history far more intricate than her current circumstances suggest. Her fingers instinctively go to a small silver locket resting against her collarbone, its cool metal a tangible link to a past she cherishes. As her touch lingers, the present fades, and we are plunged into a vivid mosaic of memories, not of grand romantic gestures, but of quiet moments that speak volumes about an extraordinary, profound connection with Michael, the groom. We see them not in the celebratory glow of a ballroom, but in the stark, fluorescent reality of a hospital waiting room, their faces drawn with worry, their hands clasped in a gesture of mutual support, weathering an unspoken storm together. There's the late-night intensity of a shared project, their heads bent over plans, fueled by coffee and an undeniable intellectual synergy, their laughter echoing softly in an otherwise silent office. These aren't glimpses of budding romance. They are powerful vignettes of deep, unwavering camaraderie, forged in the crucible of shared purpose and profound trust. The most striking memory emerges. Michael, looking frail and vulnerable in a hospital bed, his face pale, reaching out to Sarah. Her hand, gentle yet firm, meets his, and in that silent exchange, an entire universe of gratitude, sacrifice, and unspoken understanding passes between them. It's a moment charged with a visceral emotion, one that transcends mere friendship, hinting at a life-altering event they navigated together. These are the moments that define her bond with Michael, a bond carefully guarded, deliberately kept hidden from the wider world. The contrast between these intimate, deeply human connections and her current public ostracization is stark, almost unbearable. This hidden history, this profound, selfless act, is the secret she carries, the very reason for her presence at this wedding, and the fuel that allows her to endure the palpable chill of judgment. It is this unspoken narrative, this profound, life-altering commitment, that shapes her very identity here. She is not merely an unknown guest, she is an anchor to Michael's past, a silent guardian of his future, and a woman holding a story that, once revealed, will shatter every single preconception. As the evening progressed, the vibrant energy of the wedding reception deepened into a celebratory crescendo. The music pulsated, carrying the collective joy of hundreds of guests, some lost in the rhythm of the dance floor, others sharing intimate anecdotes over clinking glasses. Sarah, having returned to the periphery of the main ballroom, sought refuge near a towering floral arrangement, its fragrant blooms offering a fragile shield against the pervasive sense of exclusion. She clutched a glass of water, the coolness a small comfort against the heat of unspoken scrutiny, her gaze a silent, reflective mirror to the merriment she could not join. A nervous tremor in her hands betrayed the quiet storm brewing within her. The atmosphere shifted palpably as the master of ceremonies announced the highly anticipated speeches. First, the best man, his voice booming with witty anecdotes and heartfelt reminiscences, painted a vivid picture of Michael's journey. Then the maid of honor, her words a tender tapestry of sentimental moments shared with the bride, brought tears and laughter in equal measure. Parents of both families, their voices thick with pride and emotion, offered eloquent blessings and timeless wisdom, each speech reinforcing the powerful bonds of kinship and love. For Sarah, each word was a poignant reminder of the vibrant connections she so conspicuously lacked in this room, deepening the ache of her solitude. She watched, a melancholy observer in a world of joyous participation, acutely aware of her detached status, a silent testament to the pain of being an outsider looking in. And then, the moment arrived. The MC's voice, imbued with a final flourish, introduced the groom. Michael, the very epicenter of this grand celebration, stepped forward to the microphone. His usual effervescent smile, previously a beacon of pure joy, was now subtly tinged with a nervous intensity, a visible tremor betraying the profundity of the words he was about to utter. He adjusted the microphone, his hand steadier than his heart perhaps felt. He turned to his radiant bride, her eyes sparkling with adoration, and their hands met in a tender, reassuring squeeze, a picture of innocent marital bliss, utterly unaware of the impending shift in their shared narrative. But then, Michael's gaze, almost imperceptibly, began its slow sweep across the room. His eyes, passing over the familiar faces of relatives and lifelong friends, bypassing the congratulatory smiles and expectant expressions, finally landed, for a fraction of a second, on Sarah in her secluded corner. Her eyes, wide with a mixture of resignation, fragile hope, and a sudden sharp anxiety, met his. In that fleeting connection, a silent question hung in the air, a profound understanding passing between them, a shared apprehension for the precipice they were about to approach. The ambient murmur of the reception, previously a joyous hum, seemed to diminish, a collected intake of breath permeating the air. The room, moments ago awash in carefree celebration, now held its breath, sensing an unspoken shift, a monumental truth about to be unveiled. A profound undercurrent building beneath the surface of the joyous facade, poised to redefine everything they thought they knew.
The entire room held its collective breath as Michael, the groom, stood before the microphone, his presence commanding, his expression resolute. The usual jovial air of a wedding speech was replaced by an almost sacred hush, punctuated only by the subtle hum of the sound system. He closed his eyes for a fleeting second, a silent gathering of courage, before reopening them to sweep across the expectant faces of his guests, his gaze ultimately settling with unwavering intensity upon Sarah. "Before I conclude this evening's festivities," he began, his voice clear and resonant, amplified to reach every corner of the opulent ballroom. "There's someone here tonight, without whom none of this, my renewed health, my very existence, and indeed this joyous occasion of my marriage, might have been possible." A dramatic pause hung in the air, heavy with unspoken anticipation. The camera tightened on Sarah's face, her expression a fragile mosaic of bewilderment, apprehension, and a dawning, terrifying understanding. Then the name, Sarah. The single syllable resonated through the vast space, a seismic tremor that shattered the festive facade. Sarah flinched, a sharp, involuntary gasp escaping her lips, her hand instinctively flying to her mouth, as if to physically suppress the overwhelming emotion. Michael's voice, now imbued with a profound gravitas, continued, "Sarah, please stand up." The command, firm yet imbued with a profound tenderness, reverberated. In an agonizingly slow, almost dreamlike sequence, Sarah rose from her chair, her movements stiff, her eyes wide with disbelief and the sudden crushing weight of 1,000 gazes. Every eye in the ballroom, previously fixed on the groom, now pivoted, swiveling in unison, first to Sarah, then back to Michael, then again to the lone standing figure. Whispers erupted, a torrent of confused murmurs. "Who is that? He knows her? What is happening?" The bride, initially startled by the unexpected turn, watched Michael intently, then her gaze softened as she looked at Sarah, a dawning realization illuminating her features. Michael's voice, now thick with raw emotion, continued, his words unfolding like a sacred scroll. "Sarah isn't just a guest here tonight. She is, quite literally, my guardian angel. When I faced the darkest, most terrifying period of my life, a brutal, debilitating illness that threatened to consume everything I hold dear, every dream, every future." The camera showcased close-ups of guests, their expressions rapidly morphing from puzzled confusion to stunned shock, then to an unfolding, profound comprehension as the gravity of his words sunk in. Michael's voice gathered momentum, his conviction undeniable. Sarah was there, not as a distant acquaintance, not as family by blood, not as a paid caregiver, but as a selfless, unwavering, extraordinary friend who made the ultimate sacrifice. She donated a part of herself, a kidney, to save my life. She gave me the most precious, indescribable gift, a second chance at living. And because of her profound, immeasurable act of courage and kindness, I stand here today, healthy, whole, and with a future bright enough to marry the woman I deeply love. As the words "donated a kidney" landed with the force of a thunderclap, a collective gasp rippled through the entire room. Tears streamed freely down Sarah's face, a torrent of profound relief, overwhelming emotion, and the sudden, incredible weight of validation. Michael, his revelation complete, stepped away from the microphone, his eyes never leaving Sarah's, a powerful, unspoken bond now openly acknowledged before the entire world. The bride, her own eyes shining with tears, looked at Sarah with profound understanding and a gentle, grateful nod, a silent acknowledgement of the extraordinary woman who had ensured her husband's future. In this single, breathtaking moment, the entire narrative of the wedding and of Sarah's presence was irrevocably, magnificently transformed.
The seismic shockwave of Michael's revelation reverberated through the ballroom, leaving in its wake a stunned silence that quickly gave way to a powerful torrent of emotion. The initial paralysis fractured into a flurry of movement, as guests, their faces now a canvas of profound remorse, dawning awe, and overwhelming gratitude, began to converge upon Sarah. The camera meticulously captures these individual transformations. A woman whose averted gaze had previously pierced Sarah with invisible barbs now rushed forward, her hand outstretched, tears glistening in her eyes, her voice choked with murmured apologies. Another, who had strategically turned her back earlier in the evening, now embraced Sarah tightly, a silent plea for forgiveness in her desperate hug. The bride, radiant in her white gown, moved through the crowd with an urgent grace, her initial surprise replaced by a deep, undeniable respect. She reached Sarah first, bypassing all others, and enveloped her in a warm, heartfelt embrace, a potent, silent gesture of acceptance, gratitude, and a newly forged sisterhood that needed no words. This embrace was a public declaration, erasing all previous doubts and establishing Sarah's rightful place. Michael, having descended from the podium, navigated purposefully through the still stunned crowd, his eyes fixed solely on Sarah, a magnetic pull drawing him towards her. Reaching her, he pulled her into a long, profound hug, his face buried in her hair, his body language conveying years of gratitude, unspoken fear, and a bond forged in the crucible of life and death. Sarah, initially overwhelmed by the sudden deluge of attention, her tears still flowing freely, slowly allowed herself to accept the warmth, the acceptance, the sudden overwhelming love. Her shoulders, previously hunched in a posture of defense and resignation, visibly relaxed. A quiet, genuine smile, utterly unburdened by pretense, began to emerge through her tears, a delicate bloom in the midst of emotional catharsis. The camera offers poignant glimpses of those individuals who had most pointedly shunned her, their faces now downcast, etched with palpable regret and even shame. Their previously judgmental expressions were replaced by profound introspection, a dawning realization of their egregious misjudgment. The atmosphere in the room, previously cold and isolating around Sarah, was now saturated with a palpable warmth, an almost tangible outpouring of admiration and fervent repentance. Guests, previously distant, now formed a respectful line, eager to shake her hand, offer sincere apologies, and express their awe at her selfless act. A celebratory toast, moments ago a source of painful exclusion, was now enthusiastically, reverently directed squarely at Sarah, met with heartfelt, thunderous applause. The music picked up, but the emotional tenor of the room had fundamentally shifted, now unmistakably centered on the quiet hero in their midst. Sarah was finally, truly, unequivocally seen, celebrated, and embraced. The silence of her past torment was replaced by the resounding chorus of gratitude, a testament to the transformative power of truth.
Weeks later, the echoes of that extraordinary wedding night still reverberate, having profoundly reshaped perceptions and compelled a collective introspection. We sit down with Michael, Sarah, and now the radiant bride Jessica in a tranquil, intimate setting, far removed from the glitz of the ballroom. The camera captures their easy laughter, the comfortable silences, and the palpable depth of their newly transparent bond, a testament to truth's transformative power. Michael, his arm casually draped around Jessica, begins to unravel the complex tapestry of their initial secrecy. He speaks with earnestness about Sarah's profound humility, her unwavering insistence that her act of selflessness should never overshadow his joy or burden his future. Sarah didn't want to be a hero, she just wanted me to live, he explains, his voice tinged with immense gratitude. We both felt it was crucial for the wedding day to be a pure celebration of love, of my future with Jessica, not a somber reminder of my tossed illness or Sarah's incredible sacrifice. It was her wish, and one I honored, perhaps to my regret on that particular day. Sarah, now radiating a serene inner peace, reflects on the wedding day's harrowing ordeal. She speaks candidly of the quiet agony of being a silent pariah, the corrosive sting of unspoken judgment. It was painful, she admits, her gaze distant as she revisits the memory, to feel so utterly alone, so misunderstood, in a room full of people celebrating happiness. But when Michael spoke, when he finally said my name and told our story, it was like a colossal weight I didn't even realize I was carrying was instantly lifted. It was liberation. She eloquently articulates her motivations for the organ donation, emphasizing that it was an instinctual act born of profound friendship, a deep-seated belief in Michael's inherent goodness, and an unwavering hope for his future. It wasn't about being recognized, she states simply. It was about saving a life that deserved every chance. Jessica, Michael's wife, expresses her deep gratitude and admiration for Sarah, her voice infused with genuine warmth. She candidly admits to her own initial confusion about Sarah's presence, but quickly adds, once Michael spoke, everything clicked into place. My respect for Sarah and for Michael became immeasurable. She gave me my husband, a future I might not have had. The narrative then shifts to poignant interviews with some of the wedding guests, their faces reflecting a newfound humility. In a more somber, reflective setting, they offer candid confessions of their prior prejudices and the sting of their collective misjudgment. We constructed an entire false narrative in our heads based on absolutely nothing, one guest admits, his voice laced with regret. It was a stark, painful reminder of how effortlessly we judge, especially when someone doesn't fit our neat, preconceived notions of who should be where and why. Another adds, the ease with which we dismissed her, it haunts me. It truly opened my eyes. These raw confessions underscore the lasting impact of Michael's revelation, transforming a moment of public humiliation into a profound catalyst for personal and collective growth, a testament to the enduring power of empathy and truth.
The wedding that began with whispers of isolation and the chill of prejudice ultimately transformed into a powerful, indelible testament to sacrifice, gratitude, and the shattering force of truth. Sarah's extraordinary story serves as a profound, urgent reminder that beneath the surface of every stranger lies a unique, intricate narrative, often far richer, more complex, and infinitely more heroic than our immediate, superficial judgments could ever fathom. Her quiet dignity in the face of widespread ostracization now stands not as a symbol of shame, but as a beacon of immense inner strength, a testament to the resilient human spirit that endures even the most painful forms of social exclusion. Michael's courageous act of revelation wasn't merely about publicly acknowledging a life debt. It was a deeply moral stand, a powerful championing of truth, and a direct, uncompromising challenge to the insidious, silent biases that permeate our social interactions. His words dismantled an entire edifice of prejudice, forcing an entire room to confront their own preconceived notions and the ease with which they condemned. The ripples of that single transformative moment extended far beyond the opulent ballroom, igniting crucial conversations about empathy, the perils of snap judgments, and the profound, life-altering impact one person can have on another's journey. This is not merely a dark tale of exclusion. It is a radiant beacon of hope, a compelling illustration that sometimes all it takes is one voice, one unwavering truth, to fundamentally change everything, to shake us from our complacency, to shatter our assumptions, and to remind us that true worth is not discovered in superficial appearances, social status, or fleeting popularity, but in the immeasurable depths of our shared humanity, our innate capacity for radical kindness, and our willingness to truly see and celebrate the unsung heroes among us, even and especially when they have been tragically overlooked. Let Sarah's story resonate as a poignant, urgent call to action, to perpetually question our initial judgments, to actively seek understanding before condemnation, and to always recognize the extraordinary narratives woven into the lives of the seemingly ordinary. Because as this powerful tale so vividly demonstrates, sometimes the most unassuming guest holds the most incredible, life-altering story, waiting for the moment to finally be heard and to change the world one perception at a time.